I'm learning history in Cleveland, Tennessee. Ocoee Society, 5 Points Museum.
We both looked up just a few conspiracy theories that we can go through a little bit quickly about.
Yeah. We'll give some short summaries
ones
on these interesting theories that we looked up.
So this is about the JFK assassination. So there's a theory, which I'm a firm believer in, that the exactly, that the assassination didn't go exactly like they say that it went.
Okay.
But basically, Jackie and JFK were in the backseat of a car, like an open-air limo type thing, and then Governor Connolly, who's the governor of Texas, and his wife, Nellie, were in the front seat, and JFK is waving, his right hand is up in the air, a bullet enters his back, comes out of his throat, hits Connolly in the back, pings around quite a bit inside of Connolly, and comes out, lodges in his left thigh. And he's in the front seat, and JFK's in the back, and then JFK is shot again in the back of the head. The total of 3 shots. We don't know which shots hit and which ones didn't, which I don't know. But 80% of witnesses said 3 shots. So they are rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where JFK is pronounced dead at the scene, and LBJ is sworn in as president, which is the start of chaos anyway. And then Lee Harvey Oswald is found as the shooter. A couple days later, he's being moved from the county to the city jail, or the city jail to the county jail. A man walks right up to him and shoots him in the chest on live television. That is Jack Ruby. Jack Ruby would die a couple years later. All 3 of them would be pronounced dead at the same hospital in Dallas. So there were a couple of commissions about this. They found that Oswald shot Kennedy, Oswald acted alone, and Ruby acted alone in shooting Oswald. And the whole thing is kind of a mess. The rifle that Oswald used, Oswald was a former Marine. The rifle that he used was legitimately just crap. Okay, it's 40 years old at this point. It was known for sticking. They were made cheaply. They were Italian-made guns. And apparently it's quite hard to, I don't know exactly what this gun looks like. It's quite hard. It's a rifle to like re-rack and shoot them quickly. So he would have had to been like a ridiculously good shot for this to happen anyway. So there's a theory that says there's 2 shooters.
Okay.
Which might have been. There's a lot of people that say that there are up to 26 possibilities for alternate shooters. And I did not write all those people down because I didn't know who they were. I'd never heard of any of them. There's also a theory that he was working for the FBI and or the CIA, possibly both. So that would be a theory that the CIA killed Kennedy.
Okay.
Which I think is pretty well known. There was like the whole fiasco with the Bay of Pigs. We're like getting into a war. It's just so much. And this was probably done, if it was the CIA, it would be counterintelligence. The chief of counterintelligence, James Angleton, was a key figure in this assassination. And then the cover-up was done by Alan Dulles. You might recognize him as being of Dulles International Airport in D.C.
Wow.
He was a former CIA director. Kennedy fired him after the Bay of Pigs. Or possibly the Secret Service did it. He didn't have adequate protection when they were in Dallas. There was no Secret Service in that specific car with him either. There was someone on the like running board of the front car that you can see in the videos, the Zapruder film where he's crawling. The motorcade that they were in was not protected at all, which, yeah. And then they had already gotten information the Secret Service had, and they didn't like analyze it or give out any warnings to anyone in Texas that said that this could be a dangerous situation for the president to walk into. And then there's Abraham Bolden, who was a member of the detail, who said that he overheard other agents saying that they were not going to protect the president if an assassination attempt occurred. And then the bubble over the limo, there should have been like the Pope has that thing, was removed, but they don't know who ordered that removal. So clearly there was a lot going on with Kennedy. He was quite popular, but also not quite popular. Like, I don't think he was very popular with other politicians. And there were a lot of rumors about the Kennedys, which we won't get into right now, even though a lot of them are 10 out of 10. But yeah, so there's a theory that basically the alphabet agencies of the American government conspired to kill the president, and maybe that's happened before, and maybe it'll happen again. We don't know, because if they were able to pull it off one time, what would make anyone think that they couldn't pull it off again? Not that I'm like saying that I hope that happens. I just think that it's really strange that that is able to happen, and that's such a huge theory. Apparently, like a very large number of people, I think almost 80%, think that we haven't been told the whole story or that it's a cover-up.
Okay. So I've got about 3 really short ones real quick.
Okay.
That I just thought were interesting but really didn't warrant a whole lot of research.
Okay.
One was that Shakespeare wasn't real.
Oh, I love that.
So little is known about him that people think that he didn't exist at all and he was a pseudonym for either a single writer or like a group of different writers. So that's a theory,
That's
is that
super
he wasn't
interesting.
real and he was a pseudonym.
I like that.
Another one is that Queen Elizabeth was a man. So it wasn't that she was born a man and they pretended to be a girl, because obviously Henry VIII, if he'd had a son, that would have
I've been screaming it from the rooftops.
It was that she had visited a town and fallen ill. So she had visited Bisley in her youth to escape the plague, and she got sick and died.
With the plague, probably.
And so the governess disguised a boy as her because she was afraid of what Henry VIII would do to her if they found out that Elizabeth, as a young child, had died.
Which I think is a fair fear.
Yeah, so this was basically a boy was dressed up to be Elizabeth, so that they didn't have to incur Henry VIII's wrath. I don't think that's true at all. I think it was just something that was brought up to explain, people weren't used to having a queen.
And
they would have felt
woman.
a powerful woman, and that she was the virgin queen, which she wasn't, by the way. She just was never married.
Yeah, she just wasn't married.
But she had her beau. She had a couple of them.
Wasn't Sir Walter Raleigh one of them?
Probably. She had a couple. But that she covered up her masculine features with wigs, heavy makeup, and neck coverings so you couldn't see the Adam's apple.
Yeah.
But anyways, and the heavy makeup was to cover up the...
Like stubble and everything.
the shadow. And a few Titanic conspiracy theories.
Oh, yes, I love these.
So on April 14th, 1912, the Titanic hit an iceberg and killed 1,517 people of the over 2,000 people on board. Some people think that J.P. Morgan orchestrated this because he had plans to be on the Titanic and changed his mind last minute, but his rivals were on board. But I don't know how he could orchestrate an iceberg hitting the Titanic. The other
Money
one...
is power.
That's true. He paid off that iceberg.
He did.
The other one was that a mummy's curse was the cause.
Yes, I love that theory.
But a mummy wasn't even on board.
That we know of.
However,
Bag.
Margaret Brown did have Egyptian artifacts that she was delivering to a museum in America.
Oh, the unsinkable Molly Brown.
The biggest one I think people probably know of is that the Titanic really didn't sink. It was the Olympic.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that one.
So the Olympic was in Belfast for repairs shortly before the Titanic set sail from Belfast. And the conspiracy says the Olympic was too damaged from a collision she had had before to be profitable. So they switched it so that the Olympic would sink on the journey and they could collect the insurance money. But one, the insurance money wouldn't have been enough. And two, they killed 1,500 people to do it.
And wasn't the Olympic the ship that came at the end to pick up the other passengers out of the water? Was that the Olympic? I don't remember. I'm trying to think of the movie and I don't remember. She does say at the beginning, I don't think this is bigger than the Olympic. And they're all like, it's huge. I've also heard the theory that the Hope Diamond was on board.
Oh, yeah.
And the Hope Diamond comes from the diamond, a diamond that Louis gave to Marie Antoinette, as the story goes, and
we
that's why
could
it's
have a
smaller.
whole episode on Titanic conspiracy theories, but those are just a few of the ones that I've heard.
I like those, and the fact that they could have both fit on that door.
Could have fit, but I think the weight would have weighed it down.
I'll run through this one pretty quickly. I think it's one of my favorites, but I'll still go through it pretty quickly because there's not a ton of information on it anyway. So my favorite conspiracy theory is called the phantom time hypothesis.
Yes, I know this.
I talk about this as much as I can, honestly. And this theory was created by a man called Heribert Illig in 1991. So Illig often writes to revise the chronologies of the past.
Okay.
He's done the same for prehistory and ancient Egypt and quite a bit of art history. So this is just like a revised chronology saying that 297 years were made up. These 297 years were from the year 614 to 9/11. And that means that right now we are actually living in the year of our Lord, 1723.
Okay.
So technological advances happened a lot faster than we thought, right? We're a little bit early. But basically, this says that...
Bring powdered wigs back. I'm ready.
Same. Well, actually, let's not say that, because last time we said bring something back, it was the 1920s, and look outside.
Yeah, we have a pandemic. Like the 1920s, we have a stock market crash and economic disaster.
Right.
It's great. It's great.
Beautiful.
We did get the 1920s, didn't we?
We did. Prohibition's coming. Everyone run. So this theory says that the Holy Roman Emperor Otto II, Pope Sylvester II, and possibly the Byzantine Emperor Constantine II all worked together to fabricate the dating system in order to put them at like the year 1000, and this was meant to legitimize Otto's claim to the throne of the Holy Roman Empire.
Okay.
But I mean, that was, he was already the Holy Roman Emperor, so I guess it didn't really matter, or I would think it didn't. But this basically says that the whole, they call it the Carolingian period. It's fake. It's all fake, so it doesn't matter. But this is the life of Charlemagne, the life of Muhammad, and the spread of Islam as a religion, the beginnings of the Holy Roman Empire. And the reasons they've given for this, or there's little archaeological evidence that's like reliably dated to these years. Medieval historians relied on like the written word. Roman architecture in like 9th century Western Europe could say the Roman emperor was closer than we originally thought. And there were discrepancies between the Julian and Gregorian calendars that would have like left Illig thinks 15 days, but they only compensated for 10, even though that didn't really matter. But like, really, scholars don't believe this.
Well, I mean, other people in the world kept calendars too.
Right, so you would have had to change basically everyone. So all of like China, India, Japan, all of Asia, all of Africa.
And the New World, which they didn't know about yet.
Yeah,
because they had their own calendars.
The whole New World, like you would have had to, everything, like Australia, New Zealand, everything would have had to change. So besides that, putting a giant wrench in the plan, ancient astronomy can also, like what they wrote would also add up to it actually being the year like 2020 right now, not 1723, because it would have skewed everything that they saw. But then there's dendrochronology, am I saying that correctly? Which is like dating tree rings, which adds up to it not being 1723 as well. So this is another conspiracy that the entire world would have had to be in on. And I just don't think that would have worked out. Still love it, 10 out of 10. But
yeah, I'm a medieval archaeologist, not of Europe, but of Southeast Asia. So we can't accurately date to that time period. Are you kidding? Sorry. I could get into a whole rant about that.
Are you sure? Because it's only 1723, so...
Right. So my last one is one that is both interesting now and then, and I got really into it, and I have so many questions. It's flat Earth.
Oh.
It actually began in the 1950s, and I mean, it had its origins, the modern flat Earth idea, had its origins in the 19th century with a book called Earth Not a Globe by Samuel Bedford. But basically the theory is that the Earth is a flat disk centered around the North Pole with an Antarctic wall surrounding it on all sides with I think it's 150 feet tall, and that the sun and the moon are both 3,000 kilometers away, and the cosmos is about 100 kilometers behind that.
How come no one's ever seen a wall?
Hold up. I'm getting there.
Oh, okay. It's Game of Thrones in real life.
Hold up. We're learning here. And that the satellite images that show the Earth as a sphere are due to wide-angle images, which is deceptive. The 150-foot wall of ice around the edges of the world is guarded by NASA employees to prevent people from climbing it or falling off the edge.
Oh, it all makes so... They're like the Night Watch.
And both the sun and the moon are somehow 30 miles in diameter and 3,000 kilometers away. But the symbol for the United Nations looks like this flat Earth thing, which proves that it's a giant conspiracy that the United Nations know about.
Or they just didn't draw a 3D logo?
The biggest issue on this is religion versus science. Basically, it's the Earth is flat because the Bible says it's flat, regardless of what science tells us. I'm sorry, I'm not that familiar with the Bible.
Where
I
does
didn't
it
know
say
that it
that?
said that. And eclipses are explained by an invisible anti-moon that sometimes goes in front of the sun or the moon. GPS devices, all GPS devices are rigged to make pilots think they are going straight over a sphere instead of in circles around a disk. And photos of the sphere, all photos of Earth being a sphere are photoshopped. And they can prove this. They can prove this because somebody, one of the flat earthers, brought a level, like a construction level, on a plane, and the bubble didn't move. If they were going over a sphere, that bubble would have moved.
I wouldn't call myself an engineer or anything of the sort, but I don't believe that that's how that works.
So basically, the reason that this is a conspiracy theory, gravity is fake too.
Then why can't I bounce very high?
Gravity is not real. The Earth is actually moving upward, powered by dark energy, which is why we stay on the ground, because it's moving upward. All I know is that it's powered by dark energy.
The 17 pop culture references I've made during this conspiracy theory are awful, and I'm so sorry.
And it doesn't matter, and it's also flat because it doesn't matter where you look, from what elevation, the horizon is always eye level. Basically, the gist of this theory is people want to believe what they see with their own eyes, which is flat.
Right.
But not what science tells them.
But this also explains why NASA would lie about the moon landing and everything else, right? So this is one of those conspiracy theories that just tells the story of everything.
Yeah, and I'm glad that every single GPS device ever made was rigged.
Right.
I'm glad that pilots are tricked into thinking they're going in a
I wonder
straight
if
line.
every pilot is also in on it. And a ship captain.
That's true.
Ship captains should probably also be in on it.
I also like that NASA employees guard the Antarctic wall. Why has no one ever taken a picture of them trying to get towards the NASA employees and make a run for it?
I really don't know, but I'm kind of thinking that must be where George R.R. Martin got like the Night's Watch on Game of Thrones, because they guard that wall.
Here's another pop culture reference for you.
I know, but it all makes sense, right? He's in on it. I can't believe that we didn't believe this before you started talking about it, because now
I know everything makes so much sense.
I think
dark energy is propelling us through space
and keeping us grounded.
Yeah.
This is nice. I'm so glad we talked about this, because now I'm a believer.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I guess we should just, start telling everyone.
Earth is flat, guys.
It's flat, and there's a dark
All
energy.
GPS devices are rigged, and NASA's in on it.
They actually wrote a book, and people believed that. That book. People believed that book. I wonder if we can find the book.
Oh, I'm sure we can.
We're going to read it. Well, guys, clearly we just scratched the surface.
Absolutely.
There's probably a million more of these that we could talk about, and maybe one day we will. But thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week.
Bye, guys.